Hello, everyone. Welcome to Soulfully Yours with Humaira Naseem. I wish you all love, peace, and joy in your lives. Today, we are having our 11th episode of our show, and we are extremely excited and proud of this journey that we have taken. And we would like to uh, thank our audience and our guests for making this possible, um, for sharing the collective wisdom and insights. Uh, the topic for today, Living from Soul, is very close to my heart, and it resonates with the theme of our show, that is Soulfully Yours. And we have a very beautiful and pure soul with us, Nazish Ali, to share her insights about the topic. Nazish, she is a professional in the pharma industry and an author. And the inspiration, the thing that inspires me about her is her love for poetry, and she writes poetry as well. So we're gonna discuss that too. Welcome, Nazish. How are you?
Good, Humera. I'm very good. Thank you so much for having me. Uh,
Thank you for taking time out from your busy schedule. You are at office, we know, and you have taken time out for us. Thanks a lot.
no worries. It's my pleasure.
So, Nazish, our first question goes, who is Nazish at soul level?
Uh, at soul level, I must say I'm a human being who's still experiencing an expansion and my transformational awakening journey. It's a step towards that, as we have discussed previously offline. It's something which touches me as when you are on this journey, you learn to explore further. Who are you? What is your objective? Why you are here? What is your purpose of life? So for me as well, I'm still in that transformational journey, trying to figure out the meaning of life and how I can contribute more towards the society.
Wonderful.
As a mother, I think it also gives me an opportunity to grow as a mother, as an individual, as a human being. And of course, we being mothers would like to be a role model for our kids. So, as I said, at a soul level, I think I'm still an individual who is trying to explore the purpose of my life.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So, what do you think, from the perspective of mind, body, and soul? What is soul, and what is its importance?
Look, for me, if you ask me what is soul, I must say that,
Yeah, Nazish, can you adjust your camera because we can see how,
uh, okay,
yeah.
1 second. Let me know if you can see. I think there is some issues with the camera, Humera. Just a second.
A
I want to,
little.
yeah, 1 second. Ah, can you see now?
No, we can't see you at all.
Uh, is it okay now?
Yeah,
Okay,
better, but if you, yeah, this is better.
okay. So basically, as I mentioned, for me, I think soul is your inner self, your own consciousness. And when we are talking about soul, we are talking about purely from our conscience level. What is our conscience level? How do we define ourselves as who we are? What is our inner strength? What is the purpose of our life? So I would definitely consider soul as our inner conscience, our awareness about who we truly are as a human being.
Hmm. And how to take this journey to find our inner consciousness.
Look, as I said, it's a journey where you need to actually explore. I would consider it into four stages. One is about being aware of your physical reality. The next step is towards the light and the meaning. When you start exploring what is light, uh, what is the meaning of your life, followed by when you are actually expanding further in that radical awakening. So I'm still in that second phase, I must say, in the light, exploring the meaning. When you are not only aware about your physical being, but also try to understand what is inside you, your reality beyond your physical existence.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, in this material world, what do you say? How to balance our reality, both in the physical world and the metaphysical, or in from the spiritual aspect?
It's again all about how you are, how aware you are. So, see, something where I must say that you are thinking of only physical world, physical and worldly pursuit of your objective, that gives you a transitionary happiness. That's not a permanent one. However, when you reaches to a stage where you are exploring the light and you are exploring meaning of the life, uh, it's where you not only accept the physical being of yourself, but also accept when things are not in your control, how to approach them. It's about your attitude towards those things in situations which are not in your control.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then comes, but here again in that stage, I must say that these type of situations require some sort of resistance at times. And these resistance again sometimes conflict with who you really are. Because for me, I personally believe that you cannot enforce things on the basis of your willpower. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You need to accept things towards your attitude, but it's very difficult, to be honest, to accept things, especially when they are not in your favor. You just accept them and let the thoughts flow within you rather than putting resistance and willpower to change things based on your judgment. Take it as it is. Experience the
Wonderful.
flow of thoughts. Let it go. Absorb it.
And I think that's what surrender is all about.
Yes. Yes. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
That
Uh-huh.
is surrender
And
is all about.
in certain aspects, like in the physical world, willpower is so very important, and then surrender and letting go is also very important. So where is that fine balance? Where, how will we know that, this is the place where we need to surrender, and this is the place where we need to exert our will to move forward? How are we going to differentiate between these two situations in our lives?
Look, again, that's where we are talking about the radical awakening. Things where you need to actually surrender, things where you actually let go, things where you have to take charge and put some willpower, exercise some willpower to bring the results in your favor. Now, again, it depends upon human being to human being, person to person. There is no hard and fast rule. Everybody's reaction towards different situation is different. I might react differently than you. My situation, my circumstances are different than yours, perhaps. So, uh, I must say that we cannot put a formula here. How? But it's about your own behavior, your own attitude. What I would personally believe in a situation where I can see things are out of my control, I don't want to stress myself unnecessarily because there are certain things which are in your control, there are things which are not in your control. So you have to
Beautiful.
consciously think about things where you cannot control, let it go. As long as you can influence them, even if you cannot influence them, just let it go, surrender,
And
resolve
I
the
think the
history.
war between the ego and soul stands right here, when we just need to exert our power and control to control the situation. And that's,
Uh,
if we identify that fine line wherein we can take that decision of going with the flow,
I
is
agree.
so
I
very important.
agree. You know what? Ego also, when we talk about ego, ego is also very important at times. Why? Because ego, for me, I consider this uh, as a tool, perhaps, that we used to experience our physical reality. It's a filter which we use to experience our physical reality. It is not bad. It's all about how you differentiate between positive and negative egos, and how it can sometimes create obstacles. Because if you will not use that ego, you cannot perhaps experience all these physical realities around yourself. So ego is important at times, but we need to again differentiate whether it is overcoming our own awareness and consciousness and decision to take different judgment, exercising different judgment or different powers in different aspect of life, or it is just a worldly desire in the pursuit of these goals.
So, talking about the radical awakening that you mentioned, how can we start this journey and what are the ways to nourish our soul in order to connect with our inner self?
I think, Humera, I would say that for me, radical awakening is a step, first of all, towards to know yourself more, learn yourself unconditionally. Unless you start knowing how to love yourself unconditionally, you cannot achieve what you really want to do it, because it all starts from yourself. You need to first understand, nourish your own self through loving yourself. And how do you do that? You also need to understand that you are all gifted by God. We all came here with a purpose of life. We are all gifted by something which is very unique aspect of us as a human being. So this is first step. Second step is, as you say, as I mentioned before, we need to nourish ourselves through mindfulness. Mindfulness comes in silence. When you start observing things around you, this is the first step towards mindfulness. It also opens a lot of avenues towards us being grateful for a lot of things which we often ignore in this, hustle bustle of life and our different priorities.
Mm-hmm.
So, for me, this is my personal opinion. I mean, you may differ here, or maybe people beg to differ
No,
here.
definitely. I think silence is gold because anything, if you want to discover yourself, silence is the key because then you don't have the social noise around you. You don't have those conditioning or the around you the voices that you hear that dictate your life. They are not there. So that is the ideal environment wherein you can actually find yourself. And sometimes that silence can be scary, isn't that so?
Yes. So that's where again you need to understand, if it is mindfulness, what is the objective of silence? I mean, I cannot just sit in a corner and be quiet now. I need to first understand what is the outcome, what I want to achieve. Then, of course, I'll spend those 5-10 minutes sitting alone and do some introspection, or being aware of my surroundings, being aware of the things which I often ignore. That will help me to analyze more, to give me some growth perspective uh, from my own learning, from my own growth, from my own awakening. So it varies from individual to individual. Again, we cannot put a hard and fast rule, but for me, that is the first step towards a radical awakening. It does not come like that. You have to accept who you are. You have to start loving yourself unconditionally. Then you seek some time in silence to experience the mindfulness that will help you to achieve that journey.
When you mention self love, it reminds me that most of my life I considered self love as something narcissistic. But
Mm.
for understanding what self love is, I think that's a very good point that you have mentioned, that is the door towards awakening. Because unless you do not accept all parts of
Yeah.
yourself, it's not narcissism. It's not that is generally believed. Loving
To
yourself
be a
does not
narcissistic
mean that.
approach
Yeah,
towards life. Yeah, yeah.
exactly. So, can you talk more about self love? What do you mean by that?
Who I am as an individual. So, what happened most of the time, we are trying to start comparing ourselves with others. As I said, we are all be blessed and gifted with a lot of unique qualities by God. We need to really feel grateful of what we have been blessed with rather than start comparing and letting down ourselves. Even sometimes we are seeking external validations to remind ourselves that, oh, we are capable of doing things that others cannot. Or we are just trying to get these labels from our peers, colleagues, from everyday life just to satisfy ourselves. That's not self-love. Self-love, I know who I am, what am I doing in my own capacity as an individual, as a human being, and I'm happy the way I am, rather than putting labels or putting conditions by this material world or people around you. That is not self-love, because self-love accept who you are, the way you are. And it's not about that then you start accepting your negative qualities. No, it's about improving. You should know what are the drawbacks or shortcomings, try to put some efforts to improve. But at the same time, accept the way you are, rather than being complainant about your complexion, your body, maybe your situation. There are different criteria, different aspects, different frames, different labels that we can use to label ourselves. Basically, titles, labels, degrees,
Hmm.
just name it. So I don't want to.
Exactly.
If I am, yeah,
And that's
go
the
on.
pressure that disconnects you from your own self, because then you have
Yeah.
to um, you know you are put in a particular box, or you have to meet a certain standard, may it be a beauty standard, or maybe it's education, work, whatever it is, and it just disconnects you. And this is a very excellent point that you have mentioned, that when we all are unique individuals, and when we are unique individuals, we have a sole purpose. And when a person has a sole purpose, then there is no need for competition.
And then again
How
raises the question in my mind, how to identify your purpose. Often we think, what is my purpose?
exactly?
What am I doing here?
How
That
to
again,
identify that?
we all have a unique purpose again. So for me, I think I used to think about what is my purpose in life. Then I realized that my purpose would be things that I would like to do, with the minimum effort. It could be anything, but eventually it helps me to grow. It gives me a purpose that when I wake up in the morning, I have an ambition. I'll just go get up and do that thing, ready to do that, just to do that thing. I would love to do that thing, and I like, it's a saying that do what you love or love what you do. So that's where your purpose lies, actually. Whether it's even if it's
Wonderful.
a
But
big
here the
income.
question goes that there are many things at the ego level or at an unconscious level where we like doing, and that can not be our purpose. So how to? I mean, what I have understood from your conversations, when you love what you do, is you are in a flow state and you are beyond time and space, right? So. There are certain things that are not healthy for us, but yet we enjoy doing it, but then they are not our the purpose of our existence. So how to identify
Look,
what's the difference?
you so what you love, what I mean to say is that in that particular aspect of identifying that I like to do things which can eventually help this in my humanity or people around me, not about me being dancing alone somewhere, although I will not say this is the purpose of my life. And then, as I said, that egos, we can also use egos as a filter to experience our life or things around us.
Mhm.
Of course, ego can push you to earn more money, but then again, that happiness is transitionary. That is not the purpose of life. Perhaps what
Mhm.
I earn, and if I can put a portion of that money to help someone, that can give me actual satisfaction or happiness, which will give me some motivation that, oh yes, I can use my money to help others as well. So this, you as an individual need to identify what gives you the long lasting happiness, because anything under the influence of ego is transitionary. Whether you are getting degrees after degrees, education, titles, you learn languages, but
It's
that
never
satisfaction comes
ending.
from inside. Yes, it's a never ending thing. It's put us in a survival mode. We just keep on doing things because then we don't feel happy about it, right? So the moment you are in a
Maybe we
survival
don't feel
mode,
happy about ourselves, and we just want to
no,
put
we
on
want
one
more and
layer
more.
after.
Look, we want more. So
Yeah,
I'll give you an example. So I write a book. The book is successful. Okay, think from a commercial perspective. I want to write another book, then another, and the list never ends, right? One of the aspects is to become more famous. But then what I want to achieve from that. But if I really find that book or that particular thing which I have done could help others in a way, whether it's one book or two books, but I can see people are getting benefit out of that. That's where the true happiness resides, and it will come automatically. You don't need any
and I think it's a
logic.
journey.
Yeah.
You cannot directly jump to finding happiness unless you fall into a pit, and
Yes.
then you are like, okay, this is not my purpose. This is, and the moment you are fulfilled from within, I think that's the key.
Yes. And then you realize
Then
immediately. It doesn't need any logic to explain that, now you have fulfilled your purpose, so you should be happy. It comes instinctly somewhere here, and you feel that satisfaction, when you sit, when you feel, when you explore, you realize, oh, I achieved something.
wonderful, wonderful.
I mean, this is
It's such a
my opinion.
that's we are going in such a good flow. I've even not seen the questions that I was supposed to ask, and uh, it's a beautiful conversation that we are having. What do you think? What can damage our soul from within? How to keep our soul healthy?
So again, what the habit that can possibly ruin is the desire to have more and more at a worldly level or at a ego level,
Hmm.
getting success, worldly success. I always define as the worldly pursuit of goals, which at some point then stop, and then you start feeling the thirst, or that it's that something you feel it's missing from your life. It's not the lifelong thing that can keep you happy, motivated, or keeps on going on. So I think what damages is if you are under the influence of your ego, where you completely forget about yourself as a human being. That is the first step. Where, or if the success goes to your head and you start behaving in a way that you're putting down others just because you earn something, not you earn, but you get something which does not last longer. Position, power, money, these things will not stay forever. But you start judging people based on those things. That is, I think, the step towards basically your decline, I must say.
Disaster, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Totally. When you mention success, it reminds me, I mean, I have a love for words, and Arabic language is very deep in that, and it has different words for success, and the highest success that is mentioned is by the word fawzun azim, and
Yes.
and then there is falah, which is, um, it comes from the word like how the farmer prepares the field, and then he gets the reward. So which means that worldly success is also a means to an end, but then you should not just get, you know uh, uh, caught up in that thing.
I agree. I mean, if you talk from the perspective of Islam and our Holy Quran, I think that's the full guidance. It tells you each and everything, whether it's spiritual awakening, it's your own growth, it's about success, it's about long lasting success. Everything is there. I mean, that's the full guidance that we can always leverage. Unfortunately, not all of us can make the most out of it. But I believe today science is all talking about what has been mentioned in Holy Quran since so many years ago.
Exactly. And I think God guides us if we ask, seek for guidance, uh, signs are everywhere.
Yes, I
It's
agree.
just if we are open to them.
That's true. That's true, Humera.
Tell us about your love for poetry, Nazish. How how did you get into this?
I find it as a very good. See, as I told you, I'm not a poetess. I realize that yes, I have a quality that I can put my thoughts into words. It's about how you use those situations where you can easily be challenged, you know. So rather than taking all these emotions in words, I try to pen down. Some people do journaling. I like to write poetry. Poetry, but it could have different moods. It could be romantic, it could be sad, it could be ghazal, it could be nazam. But it's been a while now. I've stopped doing it because I don't really have time because due to my busy schedule. But yes, I do have fond. I'm very fond of few Urdu poets. Urdu poetry is my favorite. I like
And who's your
anything.
favorite poet?
My favorite poet is Amjad Islam Amjad and Faiz Ahmad Faiz. I also like to read Majaz, Israrul Haq Majaz, Sagar Siddiqui. But again, because of the time constraint, sometimes it's difficult to avail, uh, some good poetries. Otherwise, it's a good stress buster for me.
Wonderful. So, would you like to share some piece of poetry with us?
Honestly speaking, I don't have anything on top of my mind for now. I would definitely love to share, but as I
Anything
told you,
would
I've
go.
stopped. Uh,
A rubai, a two-liner, whatever.
yeah, it's my favorite poetry in Urdu. I wrote like in 2003. It's a bit of a sad, maybe you can find it a bit, the words may be a bit sad, but okay, I'll share few verses from there. Uh, मेरे आंसुओं से लिखी हुई मेरी जिंदगी की किताब है मेरे आंसुओं से लिखी हुई मेरी जिंदगी की किताब है कि भुलाए भूल न पाऊं मैं ये दुखों का ऐसा बाब है कभी माह साल की है गर्दिशें कभी दूरियों की है बंदिशें कभी विस्ले यार की है तलखियाँ कभी मौसमों का हिसाब है वही गुलसिता है हरा भरा जहाँ फूल सारे खिले खिले वही गुलसिता है हरा भरा जहाँ फूल सारे खिले खिले किसी को कभी जो मिला नहीं किसी के लिए बेहिसाब है मुझे
Beautiful.
हो गिला भी तो क्यों भला कहें खेल सारे नसीब के किसी के लिए जो है मंजिलें किसी के लिए वो शराब है
Very nice. Very. Uh, I think our desire for that Gulistan is the garden, the paradise. We all aspire to be there.
yeah,
And
you are
that
right.
was the poetry. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Nazish, for your wonderful presence. I really enjoyed the
Thank you
conversation.
so
I'm
much.
sure our audience did as well.
I really wish to be with you, Humara. It would be awesome to have a face-to-face conversation, but let's keep it for future, perhaps.
Yeah, yeah, inshallah. You
Inshallah.
do that. You do that. Take care and
Thank you for
best
your
wishes to
time,
you.
Humara.
Um,
Thank you, dear.
thank you. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Let's let's spread peace and happiness together. Signing off. Soulfully yours, Mara Naseem.
Bye bye.